Routing is definitely still a very important part of it. Routing is going to be important in pretty much every preset. It will probably have a lot less of a luck value compared to the last one, just because it's going to rely a lot less on random drops from competitors. And also, as Factorial mentioned, it is one of the only presets we have that does a modifier to the endgame boss of Chaos known as Spiral Chaos, where those thorns you see at the center of Chaos from the last seed that shoot out are going to be triggering the entire time, so you have to remain on the move constantly.
Danozuke with the name Claim Please, limiting the claim he didn't find.
And I think we're good to start. All right, we should be getting started any moment now. It should be an interesting race between... Dracula mode, I think, is a very interesting innovation on the Magician preset from last time. I've actually grown to enjoy it a lot. And I think we're just waiting for the streams to actually catch up.
Levitain in the shop with a Gungner.
Wow, those are two phenomenal weapons to find just right off the bat.
All right, we've got the race started. We will get things synced up here in just a minute. But yeah, finding Levitain and Gungner real early is phenomenal.
Yeah, Levitain alone is arguably one of the best weapons to find. Fast, high-power straight sword with great range and fire being a fairly decent typing is amazing to see. And you should see the stream sync up here in just a moment. Apologies for that.
Ooh, Devil Drop.
Random drop Devil is hugely impactful potentially. Rush Souls, like we saw last time, can make a large difference, especially in a preset like this. Because they are starting with the Rare Ring off the bat, which gives increased MP regeneration, just because this preset is designed to focus fairly heavily on soul usage as well as traditional weapon combat. So you're going to see a lot more Bullet Soul and Guardian Soul combat. And a weaks to slash Creaking Skull too, just making that Devil tick for almost 120 damage at level, what, 2? And like last time, we're probably going to see fairly similar routing paths at the beginning. One of the what's interesting about all the presets is they are all guaranteed to be Black Panther first, but this is actually one of the latest possible checks Black Panther can show up at. I feel like I see it there more often than I should, but correct, they do start with a free Headhunter because that's mostly one of the big gimmicks of Dracula mode is because every enemy has a 100% soul drop chance, Headhunter's scaling is going to get very strong, very fast. And unlike the last scene in Thief mode, we are going to be able to actually see equipment drops from the checks as well. Just like we saw a T right there, and they can potentially get other weapons and armor. So, and the shop is also, as we've seen, has weapons and armor. So they're going to have a lot more of an equipment variety to choose from. And the Soul Compass is going to be fairly impactful as well, just because it will now more reliably tell you which ones will have your movement and ability souls. Just because every check is no longer a soul canister, so it's a lot easier to visually see that a check is unnecessary.
Both runners using, oh wow, Hippogriff.
That's an incredibly early Hippogriff, wow. Rare to see Hippogriff, like some level of flight this early, and double jump as well. And Garni is electing to go straight into study, and looks like Dano is choosing to go towards the end of corridors instead. Finish out some of the checks here and see some different entrances. So we're already seeing... And a random drop Curly, too, so... Both do now have access to a Rustle, but we're already seeing some pretty interesting routing splits from them. The only potential downside could be that if Garni does not find Slide somewhere in study or towards the end of it, he is going to have to take the Walk of Shame all the way back through it.
Dano finding Chapel at the end of Castle Corridors. Only one check Chapel, though.
Yeah, that's pretty light for Chapel usually, but they do have access to Flight as well. With Double Jump and Panther, they can full check the arena, get the Warp, and gives him a lot more consistent options to choose from, I think, than Study. So I think this might have been, early on, might have been the correct choice.
Manticore drop off of Manticore.
Yeah, just hard vanilla. Not even picking up the casual clothes. He does not want the drip for Soma.
There are 3 Rush Souls in the game, Curly, Devil, and Manticore. Manticore being the strongest of the 3.
I believe they have all 3 at this point now, don't they?
Dano didn't get Devil off the beginning.
Ah, okay. Oh, and wow,
Garni.
Garni.
Wow.
That is huge, too, because that effectively gives Garni slide access, so he doesn't have to do the Walk of Shame through Study. He can just giant bat through the little divot there and keep going.
And Dano finding the other end of Study.
This is... You know what? It turned out the routing decisions didn't matter. It all led to the same place.
Garni finding Kicker.
Castle truly does have jokes.
The Castle is the greatest comedian in the world.
Death as a first boss is pretty interesting. They've already got the kit to deal with it. I have no doubts about that. Weak to fire and lightning as well, so whether they picked up Levitane or Gungnir should be an easy fight. And unlocks more of the shop for them. Yeah, this is looking like it's going to end up being a Blitz seed. Flight this early on, where in presets like this, one of the 2 biggest things you're looking for are simply Flight and Skula. So they've already got one of the biggest finds right off the bat within the first 5 minutes. And now it's just finding one of the 2 copies of Skula, and they are pretty much in go mode already. Especially with equipment as powerful as they have. Pretty neck and neck between them, though.
And Rami, what's the in-game requirement for this mode?
Beat all bosses. So there are no book requirements or specific soul requirements. It's just you have to defeat every single boss. of which I believe Danozuke has defeated Death, Manticore, and Creaking Skull. Garni has defeated Death and Creaking Skull and is about to come across Manticore. Even on a low equipment or low strength seed, Manticore is not much of a threat, but on something like this, it's just a joke. Cuddle, by the way, a very surprisingly good weapon for Chaos, just because it's very easy to get multi-hits in with. So far, no real interesting equipment checks along the way, though. Pretty much their best equipment has just come from the starting shop. And there's Slide for Garni as well. Dano checking the upper floor exits to Reservoir, which is a little bit awkward to see just because he doesn't have school yet. There's some stuff here he can do. And he could definitely take the exit down here. He can check the waterfall. There's a couple things he can do in Reservoir at this point. So he's not locked out, but it's always kind of awkward to go through without Skula because you're just very limited on what you can do. And with Reservoir leading back to the front entrance of corridors, might be for the best to go through it. But it looks like he's electing to do the corridor tower climb. Allura Une from Garni there as well is just a solid healing soul, especially with the rune ring available to them.
And I'm finding Dance Hall at the very top of Castle Corridors.
He's just skipping the hidden room check up there, it looks like. Unless he's just trying to get to the warp and get out of here, potentially. Looks like that might be the case. Yeah, Garni making the same choice to forgo Reservoir to do the corridor tower climb, see where it takes him. And we'll swiftly find Dance Hall himself.
It'd be interesting if Garni likes to do Dance Hall.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try and do the checks along the way. Wow, and hugely rewarded with Demon's Mail. The single best armor piece in the game in raw defense stats, because it also gives you resist curse as well. Only downside is it only buffs defense. That was Skula and Dance Hall up there. Oh yeah, this is going to be close, because both of them are going to have Skula here in a moment, and that is the entirety of the castle unlocked to them. Rezo is way lower value at this point in Drac. Oh, for sure. And especially without Skula, just going through Reservoir in general is a bit of a gamble to take, especially if they had other options available to them. And with that Demon's Mail for Garni right now, he can pretty much afford to just brute force most anything at this point. But between having Skula and Flight, they've got nothing stopping them from just blitzing bosses other than just finding entrances for top floor and gardens.
There's this fire here on Legion.
And potentially requiring Undyne if top floor loops in on itself. There is a chance that the waterfall could be the one valid entrance into into top floor. Or no, I don't think it could because they're both right-facing entrances. Never mind. Yeah, but weak dark resist fire. They have some other good combat capabilities, though. So... Garni choosing to take the Silk Rope just for the int boost. And I know one of them found Arc Demon. Yeah, Danozuke found Arc Demon, so... Yeah, he just looks like he just rose at himself for a free MP to just keep spamming Rush Souls through it. So far, it really is just neck and neck between both racers here. Although Danozuke is taking a pretty huge lead against Legion here. Arc Demon coming in as a huge swing.
Garni finishing Legion first, though.
Oh, yeah. And Iron Golem from it. Again, not a bad soul to find, especially in the position they're in right now, especially for Garni with Demon's Mail, just face tanking through everything, finding exits, going through bosses.
And Danozuke finishing Legion shortly after.
Yeah, there's really not much value in any of them doing checks anymore at this point. The only exception I can think of is if Undyne ends up being mandatory, but I feel like you kind of have to, at this point, assume that's not going to be the case and just kind of book it. Otherwise, you're taking a huge potential loss. Looks like Garni's come to the same decision, just going straight for bosses at this point. Just moving through Clock Tower as quick as he can. And if I'm correct, this just leaves the only bosses left for Garni being Cemetery...
and Arena.
Yeah, just Cemetery and Arena. And still finding Top Floor and Gardens, of course, but... Iron Golem Clock could be very spooky for Garni, especially if he still has that Demon's Mail equipped, because, for those who don't know, spike damage in this game scales with your defense. And because if you have Iron Golem on with spikes, you don't get iframe, so they can tick very rapidly. Demon's Mail's incredibly high defense value can make spikes hit you for triple digits worth of damage and just kill you before you even realize what's happened.
Danozuke about to clean up Great Armor here.
Yeah, he's pretty much just seconds behind Garni right now. And there's Quarters as well. Which, I knew I was forgetting a boss. They haven't done the boss of Inner Quarters yet. So it's Quarters, Cemetery, and Arena that they haven't done yet.
In terms of bosses, I think we're missing Headhunter, Valor, and Big Golem.
And there's Big Golem, so it's just Headhunter and Valor left. Weak to Stone Big Golem, very funny. Dano having the same exact experience of checking the leftmost exit of Clock Tower, running straight into the dead end of Forbidden Area again. Grabbing that blue soul just in case. May as well grab it along the way. And there's Arena, too. So now it's just the hunt for Cemetery, which is locked to a right-facing entrance, but that does mean The chances of needing Undine to pass through the waterfall get higher and higher. Because there is a potential chance that Cemetery is locked behind the waterfall.
That would be an interesting twist.
Make for a lot of potential backtracking.
Finding Headhunter here in Arena. Beating Headhunter will also allow a shop upgrade.
Yeah, this gives them full access to the shop, which neither has gone back to since defeating Death either. Yeah, Headhunter, weak to stone, resist slash. This should be a quick. And on to the last and most annoying phase of Headhunter. But quick work of it.
Danozuke making quick work of Big Golem, and he's going to be entering Arena himself in just a second.
Oh, come on, you don't want the samurai armor over the demon's mail? Think of the value. Samurai armor gives a small boost in strength. There's you know, a world where it's better.
Alright, now the hunt for Underground Reservoir, or for Forbidden
Cemetery, and then we still haven't found Top Floor or Gardens yet. So this is good in the fact that it gives us a pretty high likelihood that Top Floor can be connected to Gardens, which you always love to see. But it does mean that there is a large chance that Cemetery is in an unfortunate spot. And there's also always the chance that Top Floor loops in on itself with its dead entrance being locked to its left-facing door, meaning there's potentially only one entrance into Top Floor for them.
But we have seen the dead end of Top Floor. Or no, we haven't. We've seen the dead
No,
end
that was
Forbidden.
last seed, yeah. We have not seen an inch of Top Floor or Gardens yet. That is Cemetery's Top Floor wrecking. Not a bad bet. I'm willing to bet it's either going to be the top left portion of Reservoir or it's behind the waterfall.
I'm
behind the
maximum
waterfall.
Chaos for behind the waterfall.
Undine required.
Gotta make it interesting.
Yeah, this is an absolute blitz seed otherwise. And Vanilla Gardens leads to Vanilla Garden. Yeah, grabbing the pudding's valuable here. He's pretty low on healing items overall, and you never know if you're going to need healing against Julius or Chaos, especially with Spiral Chaos in this preset. Ooh, that's unfortunate. That means Reservoir is pretty much their only place left to go that I can think of.
The likelihood for chaotic waterfall shenanigans continues to grow.
I think it is a 50-50 at this point. Yeah, because it's either going to be the top left exit from Reservoir, or it's going to be the behind the waterfall. Because the other remaining entrance is left-facing.
We get a chance to see the upgraded Chomp on Danozuke's side.
I missed it completely. Was there anything interesting?
I didn't notice anything. I think I saw Cowled Bulg.
Calidbolg is a good pickup. It's another fast straight sword, dark imbued. It's one of the better weapons for Julius in vanilla. And the dark element can be kind of hard to come across, so it could be good for element coverage. And Danozuke is about to find the garden loop himself. And Garni seems just a bit lost right now. I don't know if he remembers where Reservoir is.
Yeah, we found it pretty early.
If I remember correctly, it wasn't the double jump access in corridors. I'm trying to remember what it was myself. Actually, was it the flight locked entrance? Or I think this will lead to Reservoir, right? No, this leads to corridor. I think it was the first flight lock.
I think so. That sounds right.
I think it's the one earlier than the one Garni's going through right now. Oh no, it is this one. It's the second flight locked. Okay, not the funny kicker doll one. And Garni once again just showing off how extremely powerful Demon's Mail with Iron Golem can be. Now the question is whether this exit he's going for is going to be top floor or cemetery. Or a potential loop, yeah.
Danozuke quickly remembering that the first entrance out of corridors led to the bottom of Reservoir.
Yeah, which is helping him catch up a lot right now, actually. This is still an extremely close race.
Alright, let's see where the door leads. Top floor.
Top floor. And will this exit lead straight to cemetery?
It will.
Alright.
Very quick, just deal with cemetery and then move straight back to top floor.
I'm with you, Reunit. I would have grabbed the warp just in case, but it looks like it really isn't going to come up. Although it looks like Danozuke is going for the Reservoir entrance potentially, which could be a huge tempo swing. That, or he's planning to loop around here. We'll have to wait and see what exactly his routing's taking him for. But my impression is he's taking this pathway through it. He's going for the Reservoir exit. For the Eastern Reservoir exit, I should specify.
Lightning Weak galore.
And neither of them picked up Gungner. Shame. But it looks like Danozuke is actually going and looping around and going to take the same exit that will lead the top floor for him. Really good use from Disc Armor from GarniTexas, by the way, just for like a pretty powerful, cheap multi-hit soul. And with that, I believe Garni is completely in go mode here, with Danozuke shortly on his tail.
Yep, Garni with a solid one boss lead, but this is very close.
Yeah, this is a race that I definitely feel is going to come down to who has better execution on the endgame bosses. Especially with Spiral Chaos here to throw a wrench into things.
Ooh, getting caught by the succubus.
They just needed to take a break halfway through. He needed the hug. It's the motivation. I still can't believe neither of them picked up Gungner. I mean, it's probably the right decision because neither of them have backdash yet, so Gungner would be really clunky, but I am just a Gungner believer. Yeah, going straight with Manticore Headhunter, just making quick work of Graham. And weak to fire, too. Wow. This will be a quick Graham. Yeah, Levitain is hitting for about as much as Manticore.
Into phase 3 we go. This will be quick.
Danozuke, by the way, did pick up that Calibulg just for elemental coverage, and it did work out for him against Balor there. Helped speed the fight up by just a little bit. I can't believe it. He wasn't Dracula. Sadly, nothing good behind Graham. Although, with Levitain Demon's Mail, there is little you really want for. Danozuke contemplating the map.
Yep. Garni's gonna give the shop a quick visit before he goes off and fights Julius.
Just in case, can sell off what you don't need, maybe pick up some healing if it's available. Holding on to the Silk Robe just for the potential int boost. Cheap mana prisms in the shop is crazy, especially with Ramen. Rahab's sword for coverage. Wow, Demon's Mail was unlocked in the shop at some point too, wow. Also, both of them are neglecting the Valmanway, which as we know is one of the single best weapons in the game. I would love to say that the Valmanway is at least good for Chaos because it's a fast multi-hitting weapon you can move with, but it's just never worth it. Valmanway is a weapon I want so desperately to be good, but it just isn't.
It's crazy what you go through in the vanilla game just to get it and then to have it be not good.
Yeah, it's like the top reward of boss rush, isn't it? Or is
yes,
the top
it is.
Reward? Yeah. I can remember whether it was the Valmanway or Excalibur. And Danozuke on phase 2 of Graham right now as Garni's walking into Julius. So this really is going to come down to just who executes better on these endgame bosses. Weak to Dark Belmont too. So Calibulg is going to really pay off here. Oh yeah, and Garni's doing pretty well against Julius right now. I always find straight swords to be the easiest weapon to fight Julius with, personally.
Are you going into phase 2 of Julius? Shouldn't have too much difficulty.
Yeah, both of them as well also do have the Calibulg for that dark weakness, and Headhunter's strength and stat boost as well, with all of them having access to Rush Souls. Julius shouldn't prove too much of a problem.
That's Julius down, and only Chaos left.
And Dano following shortly behind, taking one last stop at the shop before going off to Julius. Now it's just a matter of potential final checks in Chaos, because it could be potentially very strong equipment, or maybe even backdash. Did you have the Headhunter on? Yeah. It's surprisingly easy to forget about, despite how impactful it really can be in this preset. But I think a lot of our players who've been playing Aria for a while are just kind of conditioned to ignore Headhunter because rarely in any other preset does it come up where it's actually worth the value compared to like traditional stat boosters like Triton or Stolas.
And their combat kit's really good.
Yeah, it's... And Dano is also taking the slower exit through gardens compared to Garni. So this is going to add just a bit more time to his run. I believe that was a Durandal there as well. So Durandal on Tear of Blood and Chaotic Realm. Not anything that's remotely valuable at this point in the game. Garni's movement through Chaotic Realm again, just very solid. You can tell he's very practiced a lot of these endgame like movements and fights.
Yep, Garni's about to enter Chaos, and Danozuke has just entered Julius.
And I can't stress enough, this is still, in fact, anyone's game. Like, Chaos can really throw a wrench in any run.
Especially with the new Chaos mode here.
However, weak to Slash and Poison is going to make this a potentially very quick Chaos. Especially with multi-hit weapons like the Onigiri and then Disc Armor like he's been using before. His damage output's going to be insane, especially with all the Rush Souls doing Slash damage as well. And if I remember correctly, Garni stocked up on some Mana Prisms as well, so he can just pretty much spam Rush Souls here, which will, for the most part, neglect a lot of the Spiral Chaos difficulty because you're invincible during Rush Soul movement. Dano did just finish off Julius. So he is making his way to Chaos right now. 14 per swing on a multi-hit.
Right, we're about to see why it's called Spiral.
And this is why you have to be pretty much consistently moving throughout it, because it is, once that starts, it does not stop with those spikes. Ooh, that's going to be a heavy combo hit, too.
Yeah, and Chaos is a fight where it can get out of control real quick.
Yes, and something that has been noticed by some of the more astute viewers in chat, the spikes are a lot more densely packed compared to normal Chaos, where there are no safe zones you can just kind of crouch and hide in. You have to keep moving. You can't just hide in the normal safe spots like you normally can and just kind of ignore them altogether. Good use of the Devil Soul, the Manticore Soul there, just to get the invincibility during the Chaos Orb and get some good damage in. Rush Souls can be hugely impactful in Chaos just because of their ability to do damage while keeping yourself safe, because Chaos's damage output, even with Demon Mail like we see there, still hits for a lot. But that is going to be it for GG. GG's to both racers. Two very close sets of races. And don't head anywhere just yet, just because we are going to go ahead and invite both Garni and Danozuke in just for a brief interview if they would like to join us. Just talk about the races, ask them a couple questions about some of their decision-making, routing, things like that. So hopefully one or two of them will be joining us shortly. Hello.
Hey.
Just some impressive races tonight. Welcome, Danozuke. And that was just very close races for the most part, actually, with just a couple routing decisions in the first race that really made a huge difference. And that second Dracula seed was just neck and neck for almost the entire thing.
Yeah, the Dracula mode is actually, the preset is actually really, really fun, and it's more about execution and knowing, knowing where the bosses are, mostly. You know, I was a bit confused near before Graham. I was like, am I sure I got all of them? I was like counting in my head, like, okay, so I got this one and this one. I think I am not missing anything.
No, you your route was actually like pretty cohesive for everything. Got a link from SG Units went out. Oh.
Yeah, for sim number one, I just got really confused looking for Blue Book, and by the end, I was like, I am pretty sure it was on Forbidden Area because I saw one check on Forbidden Area, but I backed out, and that was that was the end of me. I mean, by the time I realized, Garni had already finished.
Yeah, it was a big difference in when Garni got to Forbidden Area first. He went through and found Blue Book.
Yeah, ended up being just a huge. It was, in my opinion, it was definitely a gamble. Forbidden Area is an area that is always kind of questionable whether you want to go through or not, especially one check, because it is just, you already knew where the dead end led to. You didn't know how deep the check was going to be, and it did end up being the final check all the way at the end. So it was. I definitely don't blame you for passing on it.
It can happen. I mean, I played the odds, and well, I mean, it's a gamble in the end.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't turn in my favor. I mean, it's one check versus, I don't know, there are like 20 other checks in the rest of the castle. And guess what? That was the only book that had no, that didn't have a copy, apparently.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate when you were going through, and I believe it was a duplicate yellow book that you found. I want to say it was in Chapel.
Yeah, I found a duplicate yellow, found duplicate red. On the on the pendulum rooms at the clock tower, and I was like, where is that damn blue book? And then I realized, oh my god, it has to be Forbidden Area, and then I completely forgot where Forbidden Area was.
Also, we did just get Guardian as well. Congratulations on winning both of the races, both very, very close.
GG.
2 games.
Garni, I have to ask, how did you feel finding claim off that Minotaur?
I was at first very pumped, right? And then I went to
no rare ring, by the way.
I went to go do my equips after Graham, and it's like, wait a second.
I was just mentioning, like, he's farming these red Minotaurs. It's good experience, but I don't think he re-equipped rare ring, and it just ended up not mattering. I saw that claim drop, and I'm just like, well, there goes his equipment problems.
Yeah, that claim drop is going to be responsible for me never getting another Circle of the Moon world record ever again.
I used all of that luck there. Dano, meanwhile, you had some phenomenal equipment drops through that Thief Seed. You found Excalibur under 10 minutes in, I want to say.
It was pretty early. I mean, I killed a Corley, and it was a Corley, or no, it was a Persephone. A Persephone, it dropped the Excalibur, and was like, okay, yes, I can just bonk everything with this.
No backdash always makes it a bit awkward, but still, that was just such an impactful weapon.
That's so cool.
And then you found a Vijaya shortly after, and you found a Vijaya and Excalibur while Garni was still using the Claymore. It's just like, thief mode giveth and thief mode taketh.
I mean, he got the claim. I mean, that makes up for everything without
made the long-term investment.
Yeah.
I was so ready if like Chaos was not weak to slash or wasn't vulnerable to slash, and I didn't get that claim. I was so ready for Kaiser Knuckle Chaos.
I was prepped for it. I was also really prepped for during that Dracula seed. I was expecting Underground Cemetery to be behind the waterfall and for us to have to
I'd be so mad if it was. I knew what I was doing 12 minutes in after I got school or whatever.
Well,
I was
it came down.
Please.
it came down to like a hard 50-50, right? Like whether Reservoir led the top floor and then into Cemetery, or whether it was behind the waterfall.
Yeah.
But also,
for seed number 2, I got lucky with that Legion fight was like super long, and it was resistant to fire, and had a Leviathan, and I was like, okay, this is going to take like really long, but I had the Manticore, and then it dropped the Iron Golem, and I was like, okay, so all my seed problems are now solved. I can just run through everything.
Yeah. No, you both pretty much made the same call, because you guys were even fighting Legion at the same time. Your kills were just a couple seconds apart. And it was just like, well, we have Flight, we have Panther, we have Iron Golem. We're just blitzing through the castle, finding bosses, and just checking entrances. And it ended up being absurdly close. What really ended up making both seeds, honestly, was, or the Dracula seed in particular, was just endgame fights and just a couple like small decision makes here and there. But
yeah, it's an interesting process.
Yeah, your endgame fights were just very impressive. Just dealt really well with Chaos the entire time, dealt really well with Julius and Graham. Just shows that you've really been practicing those endgame bosses a lot.
Yeah, I'd say I'm carried by them, which sounds weird, but like, yeah, I have practiced them a lot.
I mean, yeah, some players just have like specializations in really kind of what they do. A lot of people will focus kind of like on routing and map knowledge, kind of like bullet soul uses, exploiting weaknesses a lot, and just knowing a lot of the fights can pay off. So
yeah, that was kind of like I remember, like, because I barely know Aria. Like, I entered the one tournament in 2022, I guess, and I played Aria one time. And I was like, okay, I need to practice the endgame fights a lot.
Julius can be a real gatekeeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Julius in particular, I like spent so many days, like after coming home from work, I was like, okay, I gotta practice some Julius. And then when I felt like I was getting kind of good at it, I was like, okay, I gotta try it with other loadouts. And then, yeah, that just kind of became my signature at this point.
There was a super cheap cannonball at the store.
Yeah,
And I got it, and turns out Julius was weak to Dark.
and then the first seed, he was weak to Holy. How ironic.
Yeah, when you found
Yeah,
Flame
I mean,
too. We were even talking, Vax and I, about like the only thing that can really matter at this point, like, is if we get a lot of like we saw it with Graham, where he was resist Holy, which made Claim a lot less effective. Then we got a Holy weak Graham, and I think a neutral on Chaos, so it was just melted both of them.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, even if something's Holy, like resists Holy, like Claim is so big, and since it's a fast weapon, sometimes it's better
It still
to use
deals a lot of
anyways.
damage.
Yeah.
And speaking of in-game bosses, Garni, how was the fight against the new Spiral Chaos?
That's one I definitely need more practice on, but like, it's always kind of a mess when like the orbs are spawned as well, and the snake is on the screen. Like, where do you go?
that Chaos Snake is responsible for more of my runs than I want to admit. Just popping off the side of the screen and smacking me for 150 damage.
Yeah, fortunately,
out of nowhere.
Like,
Spiral Chaos has been the bane of me lately.
I was like, especially because it was Spiral Chaos, I was, after being in Go or like having everything I thought I needed, I was only doing the quick checks, and if there was healing, I was picking it up for sure. And fortunately, with Chaos being weak to Slash, I didn't have to worry about any of those top eyes.
Yeah, that Slash weak Chaos at the end was a huge like boon just for speeding it up a lot, especially with the Rush Soul strats.
Exactly, yeah.
Also, I just found this incredibly funny and was curious if you guys did as well. Red Book being Clock Tower boss in Clock Tower into Yellow Book right next to Giant Worm.
That's so funny.
And then in that Dracula seed as well, both of you guys actually split routes at very early on, where Dano went to Chapel and you went to Study from the top of Study, just to pretty much end up meeting in the middle as Study looped into Chapel and Chapel into Study.
There was a lot of really funny like logic quirks with that. How Malphus was technically flight locked, but flight was in the
literally right next to it. Yeah.
And then that Chapel and Study thing where it's like, oh, Giant Bat is where the slide block is.
Yeah, that was really lucky. I found the Giant Bat, like, okay, so this is Giant Bat and I can slide here. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was even just saying, like, it was kind of a risk going from study from the top like you did, and then finding giant bat at the end was just like, oh well, I get to just keep going, never punished.
Yeah, in Dracula mode, I'm not too concerned about going into study without slides, since it's all bosses. Just beat the
Yeah.
boss and
It's-
remember there's an entrance left over.
Yeah, it's still pretty high value.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. And especially like, so it was a 4, I think, and that was still pretty early. Like we had flight, but
yeah.
it didn't have school yet, I don't think. So at that point, it's like, yeah, it's definitely
Definitely
worth
worth it.
going through, especially with the boss and all too.
It just never feels good taking the walk of shame from study.
No, but it's surprisingly not that long. It's only 4 screens.
Oh, it's a pretty small area,
and,
yeah.
and they're all Black Panther, just zoom.
Especially with Hippogriff, just for a lot of the
Exactly.
vertical areas. So,
Yeah.
but were there any specific routing decisions you guys wanted to talk about? I'm trying to think if there were, but we already talked about most of them. Especially when like the thing that really decided game 1 was when you found Forbidden Area, you dove into it, found the blue book, and Dano didn't think it was worth it at the time, and that's what really ended up being the most impactful decision made that entire seed.
You can go
I
ahead,
think
Dano,
that's-
if you want.
No, that's like the most important decision. Like, I mean, you have to wait for beating with one check that may be nothing, or the rest of the castle.
Especially with how
Where-
early you found it.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
where the blue book could have a duplicate.
Yeah, it's kind of weighing that 50-50 in your head again, and whether that was even like an actually important check or not. Especially in Thief mode, where the soul compass is a little bit less reliable because every check is a soul. So
Yeah.
you never really know. But I think, unless Vax, you have any more questions for them, or there's anything you guys wanted to discuss, I'm pretty out.
I think we're good. Great races
think
for
we're good.
both of you.
I think I'm good too. But if anybody wants to, me and Luicho, if we meet in the next round, we've already agreed to like gentlemen to do double enemy rando. So if anybody else that
Oh.
faces me also wants to do that, I'm down. Let's double enemy rando.
Sadly,
That
I
would
think
be
we are
great.
on opposite ends of the
That-
bracket.
Will be interesting.
But
That
if we
will be
meet in
interesting.
finals,
You got it, boss. I just need to beat Luicho double enemy rando, and then I have to go play algorithm. My main goal is to play algorithm again.
that's understandable. Because yeah, it's going to end up being Luicho versus Kurushi, who I believe are. Luicho had an unfortunate power outage, if I remember correctly, so they're currently working on
Yeah.
rescheduling their game. So we don't know when that'll be played yet.
That's unfortunate.
And I believe Vax has already linked in the chat as well. You can follow both of the runners at twitch.tv/GarniTexas or twitch.tv/Danozuke. I know Garni streams pretty frequently for, I think he's been streaming Aria a lot recently, actually, for a lot of the.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
getting back into
close
streaming
races.
again.
Does double enemy also mean double chaos? I am one of the world's biggest advocates. I think we should have a preset with double chaos. I think that'd be very fun.
It can be arranged. It can be arranged.
I want this so bad. I love double chaos. I run it all the time on my own. So
Thug finals with double chaos.
okay, hear me out. We just
And
gentlemen
Victus.
do it if we make it to finals.
And Victus.
Opposite ends of the
Boss.
bracket. We do double
And
chaos and
Victus.
double enemy.
Victus and Victus.
If we meet in bracket, I'm down. Double enemy, double chaos.
Oh hell yeah!
And Victus.
What was that, Dana?
Victus also.
Absolutely. This
Big toss, yeah.
would
Yeah,
be so
big toss.
good.
I mean, if you're going for double chaos, add Victus. I mean, you cannot have a fun double chaos without Victus.
Just go all in.
Oh god, might as well. Let's do it.
All right. Well, Speedgaming, just thank you very much, especially to T Sigma, who has been helping us the entire time in the back, getting everything set up. We had some layout issues during the first race, and they just worked arduously to get it fixed, and they did, which we're all very grateful for. Thank you for Speedgaming for giving us this opportunity. And as for the commentary, you can find me at twitch.tv/Vadi4554, which Vax is linked in chat as well, and you can find Vax at twitch.tv/Vaxtress, unless anyone wants to mention anything else before we hop off.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I think we're good.
Yep. Thanks for the races. And we will see
you,
everybody
guys.
next time.
Bye.
All right. Don't worry, there's more Aria in the future.